with some of the podcast guests, it does not even count as podcast. I mean, it basically counts as a mentoring session and you get to know a lot of things from that person. Today on the Coding Adda podcast, I had the pleasure to host Shruti Kapoor. She is one of the crazy people I have come across. I use the term crazy because of the talk things that we have talked in the podcast. She has 20 plus years of experience working in the tech industry and been also been working in the companies like PayPal and currently working at Slack. Slack, most of the people have heard about it. It's like just a chatting application that we use for offices and our professional work. And in this podcast, we have talked a lot of things about tech topics, about her content creation journey, about her journey as a developer, about her journey as a speaker. And one of the most important things that many of the students who are in their colleges or who are in the tech industry or the developers who face is like what we call as imposter syndrome. This particular topic is busted in this particular podcast, and I have had a great fun talking with her. I really want to make all of you guys check out her channel and connect with her. And I really want all of you to check and watch this entire podcast. And it will be a real fun podcast to every one of you. Shruti Kapoor, welcome to the Coding Adda podcast. It's a great honor to have you. And how are you?
Thank you for having me. It is a great honor to be here. I am doing great, pretty tired right now because it is 11:51 in the night for me. But I'm ready for this chat and I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, just back after, I guess, after before half an hour, I was just at your live stream, and you're like, you have that energy of like doing the live stream at 10 o'clock and then coming to the podcast. It's like it takes a huge amount of energy to have that aura. So thank you so much
It
for
takes
hopping on the
this.
podcast.
It takes a huge amount of coke. I told you, right? I'll get loaded up on caffeine.
So it's the power of caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
run on chai and caffeine.
So yeah, I saw you at React India, and from then I have been a great fan of your work because I have been following you on LinkedIn, on especially on YouTube, and I really like the way you explain things because I haven't seen any of a tech YouTuber talking about React hooks or talking
Hmm.
about IDs in a very storytelling way. Because recently one of the video that you posted, I guess in the last meet also I told you about that. It's like it's
Yeah.
something crazy. Like you become a boy and then you talk and have a conversation. And yeah, it's pretty interesting that you talk in
Thank
that
you.
way. So
Thank you.
I know about you, but if to those who don't know about yourself, can you please give a short introduction?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I am Shruti Kapoor. I am in Seattle. Actually, I've been living here for a year now, and I moved from India to Canada when I was 17. So, originally from India, Delhi, but moved to Canada when I was 17. And I've lived in Bay Area for 7 years. I don't know. I say I'm a citizen of the world. I have no place. I'm Dhobi ka kutta now. I have no place that I can call myself home or everywhere. But I've been a staff engineer. I have worked at PayPal. I'm currently at Slack. I love content creation, and I say I am your favorite developer, educator, and content creator because that's who I am. I'm self-proclaimed entertainer. I have been creating a lot of tutorials, like you said, and I've been trying to bring like the fun back into coding because I feel like the YouTube videos. of a lot of folks who are very smart, but they are quite dry. And honestly, I start feeling asleep while watching videos. This is why I can't read. I can't do like blogs. I can't read blogs. I can write all day long, but I can't read blogs. So I'm like a YouTube kind of person. This is how I learn. I'm a courses kind of person. That's how I learn. And I'm trying to bring back fun into coding. And like we have these the reason why we're watching these YouTube videos is because we have some instance at work where, somebody told us about like a hook called useref, and they put it in our PR like, oh, don't use document query selector, use useref. And then you spend like the next 3 hours going through the documentation. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing? I just want to get this merged. So I'm trying to bring like that human aspect to learning. Like, why are we doing this? We're doing this because that may not be relevant or that may not be optimized. So trying to bring a little bit fun, a little bit more human side to coding, and that's what I've been doing over the last few months. So you can find me on YouTube at Shruti Kapoor 08. And depending on when this goes live, I'm also doing a Q&A session on February 28th. And you gotta hit like and subscribe, because if we get to 3,000, then we'll make chai together. That is my goal. I live on chai. Can you tell? I live on chai.
Honestly, guys, I don't tell anyone like to like and subscribe. But to Shruti Kapoor, I want everyone of those who
Ah,
are watching the video to like and subscribe, because it's something different. If you watch our videos, it's literally something different, and it actually makes like you are making coding fun. Because
oh, thank
what
you.
when we were in colleges, we would see like, "Arey yaar, coding karna hai." It used to be like a stressful job. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
what to do, what to see, like these number of logs and or number of lines. And but looking at your video, it's like, no, it's not only the number of lines of code, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That is so true. Like a lot of us started coding back in our high school, even when this was something that we want to do as fun, right? Like we heard about HTML from our friends and we were like, oh, we want to build a web page. And we had like our marquee text of like, hello, welcome to my site, flowing
yeah,
across the screen, right? Like that rotator thing. And that was fun. That was stupid. It wasn't optimized code, but it was so fun. And as we became professional engineers, all of that fun has taken a backseat. And now we're all centering divs on the screen and adding more divs. And that's just what our life has become. It's become this box stuff, and creativity has taken a backseat. So let's bring the fun back to coding.
yeah. Because I would tell you one of my personal experience. Like when in 10th standard, I guess 10th, not 10th, 8th standard, we had HTML. So in our class, we had like 36 or 40 people in a single class, and they were given like you create your name and below that your class name and mother's name and all those things. So when everyone created it, we used to call ourselves programmers, because
Hmm.
that's the first thing that we used to create. And when we had that A tag to link to another page, we're like,
Yeah.
मेरे जैसा कोई programmer है ही नहीं. I am the
Yeah.
best programmer. And when we came
Exactly.
into college, and you're like, no, I am not at all the best programmer.
मेरे जैसा कोई नहीं है, मैं सबसे घटिया हूँ.
It's like मेरे से I am not able to center the div. That's the
Exactly.
a meme material right now. Like center div करके बता, then you can call yourself like 0.1% programmer.
Yeah. Reddit and Stack Overflow really took that pride out of us. So yeah, that person who was so confident of their skills, that's taken a backseat, and that kind of
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. So you told about you came to Canada. Like really want to know about your early inspiration, and like what is your path to programming? How did you start it?
Yeah, so actually you mentioned grade 8, right? That's actually when I started as well. And I uh, I don't even remember what they were teaching us in school in grade 8. I think they were teaching us like PowerPoint stuff. I am old. They were teaching us PowerPoint in school. Um, but my dad enrolled me into this HTML, CSS course outside of school. So I was taking like programming tuition, and I was like, I'm such a nerd. I'm taking programming. Why am I going through this? I was like blaming my dad the whole time. I was like, Dad, I just want to enjoy my summer vacations. Why are you sending me through coaching? So then I went the first day, and honestly, the first day I enjoyed it a lot. Like I think I learned how to write like "Hello Shruti Kapoor" on the page, and just writing that and having something like visual come up on the screen, like being able to navigate to a site and having that come up, I was like, wow, this is so cool. I can actually make like stuff appear on the screen. I can make stuff appear on this like monitor, which I love so much, like this computer that I love so much. And I think that like basic spark of creativity kind of inspired me to learn more and more. So after I finished that HTML course, I actually excelled in it. That's where I made marquee tag in that hello, welcome to Shruti Kapoor stuff. And then I went back home and I made my own site and I added pictures of my family. I was so happy. I was like, this is going to be my homepage, my digital garden. And then I was so excited by it. I learned CSS. I learned jQuery at the time. I Once I started learning jQuery, that's when I gave up. I was like, this is it. I don't want to do the dollar signs. That's it. I can't do anymore. So honestly speaking, did not wasn't a big fan of jQuery. But I think once I started coding, and but I knew I was very attracted to computers, and I was really attracted to like coding in general. I had no idea which route I was going to take, how to even get into computer. But the only thing I knew was, I know I need to take non-med in grade 11, which is when you decide between med and non-med. So I knew I was going to take non-med. And that's how I started entering this field. But after finishing my grade 12 is when I moved to Canada. And at that point, you have to decide what major you're going to take, which probably is similar in India as well. You decide in grade 12, after grade 12, right?
Yeah.
So when I had to decide my major, the first year is actually common in Canada for everybody.
Hmm.
So you learn physics, you learn maths, you learn English, you learn everything, but you don't have like a major assigned. So you're not computer science or you're not electrical, you're not chemical engineer, you're just an engineer. So your first year of engineering. Then
Same
in the
like what we
second
have in
year,
India.
same as in India, right?
Yeah.
Um, in second year, you pick your major. So what I ended up doing was I knew that I wanted to program, but I had like no idea if I should go computer science or if I should go electrical and computer engineering, which is one thing that we have. And then the third thing I think we have is like electrical and computer science, I don't know, electrical, oh no, so we have a difference between electrical and computer, so
Okay.
you can choose a specialization. And I was so naive at the time. I really wanted to be in this society called IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, for those who don't know. And I was so excited to be in this society. I was like, I want to be in this society, and I know that if I want to be in the society, I need to be an electrical engineer, so I'm going to choose electrical as my major. And then I was talking to this friend of mine who happened to be my mentor, and he was like, you can be in the society even having to choose, even without having to be an electrical engineer. You can be a computer engineer and choose that. And I was like, you know what? Actually, I want to code. Maybe choosing the society is the second thing. So, on a whim, on the very last day, it was the very last moment, I was in the very last hour, I was like, fine, I guess I'll choose computer engineering. And that's how I ended up in computer engineering. I wanted to be in a society and I was going to take electrical engineering, but my mentor guided me that that's not the route you should be taking. So I ended up in computer. And I'm so happy that I took computer because that was the route I wanted to take anyway. But I think what really excited me about computer is like even this the same thing still excites me today is the ability to have your idea come into life in form on the screen. Like whatever you can imagine you can actually build. I recently, like last year, I built an application that had like bubbles flowing on the screen. So you click and it's kind of like a bubble gun. So then you have like bubbles going everywhere. And it was so
Okay.
much fun. It was such a silly app. Like I just used HTML and the canvas element and JavaScript to build this. But it's like those little things that inspire you to create more, and having your idea come up on the screen. I think that's what inspires me to be in computer engineering still.
Okay. I also think like this particular field is something like it's very creative. Like it is going to evolve in like let's say now, at this point of time it's evolving even in like 2 months. But
Yeah.
compared to other fields, like if we talk about EXCC or civil or mechanical, it's just like they have that fundamentals to be the same. And
Yeah.
they cannot innovate, they can innovate in terms of let's say the design and the performance. But
Yeah.
this particular field is like you can do anything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good thing about this particular field. And I really want to talk to you about like when I was researching about asking questions for Shruti Kapoor. I just went on YouTube and I searched for Shruti Kapoor. I got almost 20 plus videos where you were talking about React hooks. I guess you went to many React conferences and you talked about
Yeah.
React 19 and React India as well.
Yeah.
So I really want to ask, like, why React?
Hmm.
What made you like it?
So actually, why React? What made me? I'll start with how I ended up in React, and
Okay.
it wasn't my choice to come to React. Actually, I was just thrown into it. So I started working at Telus Digital, which is the first company I got employed at after graduating from school. And they were using React, so I had to learn React and Redux so I could work there. Um, I was actually completely lost in React. First of all, React and Redux, they are do different libraries, but they're so like intertwined together that it's so hard to separate where React starts and where Redux starts, right? So I was looking at these like dispatch and actions, mutations, GraphQL and databases all in my head right now. And I was like, oh, React has dispatch. It's so hard. Like React Redux, I thought was one thing. So it's so hard to kind of separate that concerns out. And so as I started learning more and more, I understood that Redux was a state management thing and React is just the library. And then I learned Angular. And once I learned Angular, I started to appreciate React even more. So I was like, okay, React is not that bad. And if I separate Redux out of it, I can understand this is very lightweight. And then as I started to build more and more projects on the side, I would decide between which language I want to use. So I would always start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, just those three things, and then slowly add on a library. And I've tried a few different libraries. Like I've tried Bootstrap. I've tried what is that templating language? Forget about it. Forgot the name, so it doesn't not important. I've tried a few different libraries, but I keep coming back to React because I feel like once it is so easy to set up, it's just like npm install, get ready to go, and then it is so lightweight. You can add your components, you can reuse them across places, but then you can add complexity as you need to. So you don't have to like start off with like a bloated framework like Angular does, which probably has changed now. I don't know, haven't been following up with them. But you don't have to start off with that bloated framework. And so I started getting more and more involved with React that way, like understanding how React works. And then as I saw that there were places to help people with, like help them understand React. Like when hooks came out, it was so hard to understand hooks. And what is the difference between class components and functional components and how to move from class to functional. So I started finding these places where I could help people, and that got me more and more invested in React. Then I spoke at the React conference in React 18 when React 18 was announced, and I think that is when I started to make like really serious investments in React, in understanding React, how it works behind the scenes. And now, when React 19 came out, I spoke a lot about React 19, the new updates, and how it's working in the background. And I'm really enjoying that. So I've really deeply invested in React now.
Okay. I think my journey to React is also the same like you. In our college, we had React. We had something called IT or something like that, like Internet
Hmm.
Programming, IP. So it was
Hmm.
like the server would used to tell React about all about React. So I was like, okay, let me start. And till I was in my fourth or fifth semester, I did not even like co-programming
Hmm.
after getting into engineering, but I didn't like and I did not understand like how
Hmm.
these functions are created and how this thing works. But it was like the summer vacation that we had, and we had that IP, and I was like, okay, I let me utilize this summer vacation learning it.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, let me see 4 or 5 videos on YouTube. And that got me a kind of addiction to React. I'm like, bro,
Hmm.
this is something crazy
Hmm.
and something very easy to set up. And
Yeah.
then came the seventh semester where we are taught Angular. I'm like, please. I used to tell my faculty, I'm like, ma'am, रहने दो इसको इसके marks दे दो मुझे मुझे नहीं करना है." Because it
Yeah.
comes like entire the template base template looks like HTML. You have to write ng init ng app. I'm like,
Yeah.
please, I am not this for made for Angular. I can go with React.
Yeah. And like Angular, you have to specify which variable you want to update. So with ng, whatever that might be. So there's two-way binding, but with React, you have a variable, you put it, and then when it updates, you automatically update that variable. In the like the app automatically re-renders. And for me, that was so cool. I was like, okay, one less thing I have to worry about, which was really nice.
Hmm. And the major difference was like when we used to create HTML and when we changed, we had to reload that page
Hmm.
again. And
Yeah.
here it's like automatically reloading. So that was a
Yeah.
very major advantage.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
actually a really good point because anytime I am using an HTML, CSS app, just HTML, JavaScript app, and I need to make sure that the data is reactive to state changes, that's when I start adding React, which is actually a good place that highlights that your app is now ready to grow more and you can now start adding external libraries.
Okay. I really want to know about your journey from PayPal to Slack. So please tell me about it.
Yeah, so I worked at PayPal for 4 years. I started PayPal as a software engineer two. When I left, I was software engineer four, which is a staff engineer. Then I joined, I was working in the checkout team of PayPal, which is like the bread and butter of PayPal. So whenever you try to check out with PayPal, that's what you do. And I was building SDKs at PayPal. So like full stack development, Node.js work, a lot of front end development as well. I worked a lot on GraphQL there, and I talked about GraphQL and adoption from REST to GraphQL a lot at conferences. And when I left PayPal, I got a job offer from Slack. Actually, I had a job offer from Spotify as well, but I chose Slack because I felt that people at Slack were so empathetic and I really liked the interview experience and I love talking to everybody at Slack. So I chose Slack and I've been working there for almost 3 years now. Wow, crazy.
Damn. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
want to
full
ask like,
front end at
yeah.
Slack.
I want to ask like what's like people back in India, it's like yes, someone who works at PayPal, who works at Slack. People in India, it's like, bro, क्या मतलब they are like इतनी बड़ी कंपनी में काम कर रहे हैं and they try to find ways to connect with them and I'm
Hmm.
being grateful like I got to connect with you. So this is my personal question, like what is so special about companies like PayPal and Slack which makes them PayPal and Slack?
Hmm. Good special name. Money. That's what it is.
गाइस देख लो क्या स्पेशल है वहाँ पे.
I think what makes so I don't know about companies like when people compare themselves with these big companies. I don't know. I think anybody deserves to be at these companies. Honestly, these companies are not that big, not that special. You deserve to be in these companies if you want to. If that's your goal, you deserve to be there. I think what makes it different between these companies is so I worked at small companies and I worked at these big companies, like very established companies. And what I can tell you the difference is the time it takes to deploy a feature at Slack, it's super fast. Like you push your stuff out
Okay.
within an hour, it is deployed. You may not even see it actually. So I ship code like pretty much every day. You don't even see it, but it's actually in your bundle. You have it in your bundle. It's a matter of like A and B testing. And it's a matter of me turning the flag on for you to see it, but the code like ships every day. It's so fast. So the amount of pushes that happen, I think, makes Slack super fast, which is why like makes product development at Slack super fast, which is why I think Slack grows so fast as well. Number two
Okay.
is the tech stack that we use. We're always trying to keep it optimized. There is a lot of there's a lot of linting that is happening. There's a lot of testing that is happening. If your code slows down the metrics or the benchmarks, you get notified, and there are people who are gonna help you understand why your code is slow, which is actually really great because I learned a lot about performance optimizations at Slack, like use memo and use callback. I had heard about use memo, use callback. I had used use memo and callback, but I did not understand use memo and use callback until I started working at Slack and I was told, hey, your app is slow, your component is slow. And the thing is, like, metrics are so component driven that if you added a new line of code, they would know that this because of this line of code, your code is slow, which is really helpful. So it helped me understand like how my code was performing, and I wasn't just like blindly pushing out code. There were actually benchmarks to compare my code against, and you get notified by people, but it's not like, oh, you are notified and now you're like alone. People actually help you. So that fact that the people are so collaborative and so helpful with each other, I think that is really helpful in supporting in creating this like supportive environment and also helping everybody grow. I think so. Tech stack is really important, and Slack and PayPal both care about their performances a lot. Slack more than even PayPal, I would say, and I think that's what differentiates it from other companies that I've worked at before. Um, I think things also move really fast at Slack. So
Okay.
if a feature is discussed today, it may be out in a month or 3 months. I have shipped features within 6 weeks from ideation
Damn.
to like in the hands of a user within 6 weeks. So things move really fast. Um,
Damn. That's pretty interesting and crazy stuff.
yeah, 6 weeks is not a lot of time.
Yeah, because for a
So there
developer,
is
it's
no
like
time to
you have.
slack off.
Because for a developer, it's like you have to think and like you have to propose the feature to them, and it usually takes time. But 6 weeks
Yeah,
is not that huge time, but it's like pretty
yeah,
crazy thing.
yeah.
How does a day in a life of Shruti Kapoor look like?
Hmm. I wake up, I make my chai, I sit in front of the garden, and I look at birds and I pet my dog. It's a very zen start to the day. Um, that's actually how I start my day. No kidding. I wake up, I make my chai, I spend like 1 hour just with myself and um, charging for my day. I am not a morning person, in case anybody couldn't figure out by the time that we are recording this. I'm not a morning person. So for
Plus
me
one,
to
plus one.
right? So for me to start up in the morning, it takes me a long time to boot up. So I call that my boot up time. I need some fuel. But once I start, I typically start my like work day at 10 o'clock. We have stand-up meetings at 10:30. So the first 30 minutes is usually how I start, like to uh, actually 1 hour ish is how I like to organize my day. So I have this bullet journal that I keep with me all day long. And I put like everything that I need to get done in that day. So if it's not here, it won't get done because I have really bad ADHD. So you'll see it all looks like messy because what is it, Wednesday today, and I have planned tomorrow, but I need to plan the rest of the week. So if it's not here, it won't get done. And you know what? Your calendar invite was not here, and I was so close to missing it. So I'm glad I have it in my digital calendar. So I plan my day out before starting, and then at 10:30 is when we have to deliver status updates. And by that time, I have kind of outlined my main three tasks that I want to get done. Typically, it's like one big goal that I want to get done, which is like the feature that I'm working on. And then I have 2 to 5 o'clock, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. booked off as my deep hour time, during which I don't take any meetings, I don't take any calls, I don't go outside, I don't talk to people, I turn my phone off to silent. So that is my deep hour protected time. And then around that time, so whatever time is left, is when I have meetings, when I'll write, when I'll check my Slack messages, when I'll talk to people. Anything non-productive that needs to happen is outside of those 2 to 5. But 2 to 5 is when I'm coding, I'm reviewing PR. I also work, I have bad ADHD, so I work in like Pomodoro. So I work for 25 minutes, then I'll take a 5 minute break, then I'll work for 25 minutes, I'll take 15 minutes break, and so on. So I can only focus for 25 minutes at a time. And even at that 20-minute mark, I'm like, okay, what time is it? What time is it? Is it time to go already?
Actually, I've seen many of your videos. You have it on your YouTube channel. Like you have using that promoter technique and then
Yeah,
working.
exactly. Uh, yeah, I have it like running all the time. I'm not coding right now, but if he's caught me coding, it would be running on my like screen here. I don't know if you can see the screen, but it'll be running on my screen. So that is my deep protected time, and after that is when I do things like keeping up with tech, or like keeping up with the community, writing any content, filming any videos, writing scripts. Um, and then 5:30 to, actually not 5:30, 6:30 to 9:30 is what I call personal time, and that is my time to spend with my dog, with my husband. That is my time to work out, cook dinner. That is like me time. um, or like see any family members or see any
Hmm.
friends. And 9:30 to 11:30 is live streaming time. So and then 11:30 onwards is It's actually like admin time. That's when I answer emails, like talk to community, schedule anything for the next day, have this podcast, write any additional further notes that I need to if I'm working on a side project or working on a video. Um, yeah, and then it's usually 3 o'clock and it's time to sleep.
I think, guys, this is what it takes to be someone like Shruti Kapoor. It's like 24 hours are also less for you. You need like 36 hours in a day to
I
get
need
some
more
time
time
for
to sleep.
yourself. That's pretty crazy, yeah, actually. I by like talking with you, it's like almost not 50% of the questions I have asked you, but I'm getting a lot of motivated vibe and like uh, kind of a big sister like vibe, like to understand all those things and to get up and do more work. So that's pretty
Correct.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
it's
you,
not as it's not as like as I said. It's usually like softer blocks. Like okay, it's 5:30. It's 6 o'clock. It's not like oh 5:30. Let's go. Okay,
Hmm.
9:30. Stop talking. Gotta go on live stream. I mean, usually for live stream it is like that, but other than that, it's like soft schedule. But typically that's what I follow. Um, Also, sometimes I
Okay.
wake up later than 10 o'clock on weekends, especially.
Okay. So you started your content creation journey as well. What's your motivation behind starting it?
Hmm.
Apart from that, you told like you wanted to make coding much more fun. Apart from that, what was your
Yeah,
motive?
I think this is gonna be very sad. Um, it actually is. So I'm creating my legacy by creating videos. And I think that if I die today, what is that I'm leaving behind? How will people remember me? I've given a lot of conference talks, but the problem with conference talks is they're very ephemeral. So today I'll give a conference talks. In 6 months, it's going to be forgotten. Maybe one of my conference talks is going to be really popular and people will watch it again. But that stuff changes so fast and it's usually like trending topic. But I really, really want to help people. And even when I die, even if I was to die today, I still want to leave behind something that people can look at and be like, okay, I saw that video and that video helped me. And honestly, that is going to be my biggest success if people watch the video that I'm producing and they'll be like, I did not know about this topic, or this topic was very hard for me to understand. But finally, after watching this video, it makes sense. That's what I want.
It is, honestly speaking, it is actually going to make sense because after this video, I think many of my subscribers will be like coding Adda. No, Shruti Kapoor, yes. For all the React work, they'll be like, no,
No,
Shruti Kapoor is the one. So
no,
that's the
both of
very good
us.
thing. The next question that I have is like, how do you decide on what topics you want to make the video on? Because
Yeah.
like when it comes to creating content, being a creator myself, like I've been creating content since 3 years, and even at this point, I'm like confused. I call up my friend. I'm like, bro, what should I make? Because it's
Hmm.
like there are a lot of things in the bucket, but what
Yeah.
is the right thing to choose and what is the right thing to deliver? How
Yeah.
do you choose that?
Yeah. It's a hard thing. Like, I think there are so many ideas that you can build on, but then which one to do and like which one would hit well with the audience, it's hard to do. I think for me, one of the things that's been working really well is the live streams that I'm doing. So every day I'm building a little bit and I get to engage with the community and understand what their concerns are. So, for example, in today's live stream, I was teaching them um, like why would you pick one state management library over another, and how do you decide when it's time to pick a state management library, and when has React stopped serving your needs. So this is kind of something that is not really taught a lot. If you do a little bit of research on YouTube, you'll find that a lot of videos are about let's add a library, but why do we want to add a library? At what point should we add a library, right? So when I'm sharing this content, I'm also gauging what the audience's reactions has been, and the reaction from today's live stream has been that this kind of stuff is not really taught. I wished it was taught. And somebody literally said like, you should be charging money for this. You are just giving away uh, like valuable information for free, and I paid thousands of rupees in university for this kind of content. And so that gives me a really clear indication that there is a demand for this. So that is one kind of content, stuff that people are already looking for. I think when you also watch other people's videos, you'll also figure out some gaps that you feel like they talked about. Um, And that is a good indication. Like if, for example, you are watching a video on um, Tailwind, for example, somebody's teaching you how Tailwind is added stuff and things, but you feel like there is one topic that they missed, you can make a video on that, right? You already know Tailwind is popular, you know that you want to watch it, so I'm pretty sure somebody else would want to watch it. So it's kind of like need based approach. So one, you're getting from the audience, second, you're getting from your own need, and third, you can do a little bit of research to also find out what people are talking about, when they're what they're looking for. So for example, on other people's videos, what are the comments saying, what are they looking for, what kind of demands they have, what kind of questions they have, what kind of things they want to see. So doing a little bit of audience research also helps. And then four, I just make content that I want to talk about. I feel like use refs are hard because it was hard for me, so I just make content on that. Use effect, oh my god, I have it's so confusing. Like some people say use effect, some people say don't use effect. The vlogs say don't use effect, but then everybody's using use effect for fetching. Like, what do I do? So let's make a video on that. Let's break this down. There are external libraries, but you can still use effect, by the way.
Hmm. So, coming on to the content creation part, one of the thing that I have seen, and I have talked this in the start as well, like you explain things very easily. Like it
Hmm.
gets into your mind in like one shot. And
Hmm.
comparing it with what we
Oh,
see
that's
in
such a sweet
colleges,
compliment.
so comparing what we see in colleges, it's like they will tell like you ask me like 2 3 times, I'll be explaining it very well. But even after we ask it more than once, they're like, "Are you trying to being so smart than me?" Like they kind of get angry on you. Like, why are you
Yeah.
asking these things 2 3 times? And when I saw one of your videos on like IDs, I'll just talk about that ID wala video. I'm like, I was like, this is how the content should be made to explain
Hmm.
things. Because what others do, and I'm not comparing with others, but what I have seen in the traditional tech industry on YouTube is like they talk with a presentation and they're like, okay, this has this, and this is
Hmm.
how this works. And they just give the
Hmm.
comparison. But no one gives in like a storytelling form. So
Hmm.
how does that kind of idea come into your mind? Like, I want to explain this in this kind of
Hmm.
manner.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, thank you. That is such a sweet compliment. I have been striving for that. So, yeah, this kind of validation is much needed. Yeah, I can sleep peacefully now. Yay. uh, I think I'm trying to actually think of a person who I'm explaining this to. And I
Okay.
usually have a target person in mind. Um, so, for example, with the use ref video, actually, it's not out yet, but I keep talking about it. It's going to be out next week. I'm making a video on use ref, and I am making this video for the past me. So in that video, you'll see that I talk about, somebody's going through a GitHub pull request and they get a comment that you should use useref instead of document query selector. And breaking news, I was the person who used document query selector, and I was like, "What the heck is useref?" And then I started reading the documentation, I was so confused. Um, so I'm actually trying to speak to a person uh, in that video. So I'm thinking of a person in mind. Sometimes that person is me, sometimes that person is somebody else. So for example, with Usted, I was thinking of a person when I was making that video. So this way I'm imagining like what their questions would be and what concerns they have, and I want to answer their concerns in their video. Um, and the storytelling aspect, I think it goes to the fact that all of the videos I feel like are kind of dry, and um, I think there's a real person watching that video, and if you speak to their concerns, it makes it a lot more entertaining, but also a lot more engaging to watch,
Okay.
right? So you speak to their concerns, the person's concerns, and it makes it a lot more organic to watch as well. Feels more real that way.
Okay. Okay. I really want to talk about one thing that I think many of the students and many of the developers still now face, and I have seen like no one talk about that thing, is the imposter syndrome that
Hmm.
we like usually come across on like daily lives. So some people would not know about the particular term imposter syndrome, but I think they might be facing it every day. So
Hmm.
please burst that balloon on imposter syndrome and how to get out of it.
Yeah, actually made a video on imposter syndrome, and I think I had like a 7-step process in it. I'm just gonna find that video, but also talk about it in summary. So if you want to link that video, it can be people can watch it if they need to. Dealing with imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome is a universal thing. Hold on, let me share this in the chat. Here you go. I think imposter syndrome is a universal thing. So for me, one of the biggest moments that I felt like a aha moment was when I was talking to a mentor of mine who was actually a principal engineer at PayPal, and he's like my epitome of a successful engineer, of an amazing engineer. He's so hardworking. He is so good in his code. His code is always of the utmost uh, clean code standard. Um, he's also so helpful. He's also so knowledgeable. So, like, if you think of like a person you would admire, a person who you would get inspired by, this is the kind of person. And I was talking to him, so he's the person who helped me actually get into GraphQL as well, and he helped me like start speaking at conference. So amazing person, I really respect him a lot. And I was talking to him about um, his goals in life and what he wants to do. And he said he wants to move on to a different company, but he has this imposter syndrome. He hasn't given interviews in such a long time, and he feels like he's not a real developer anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're not a real developer. You're like the idol for me. Like, how can you say that you're not a real developer? And he's like, I don't know. Anytime I start giving interviews, I have this imposter syndrome kick in. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? You have imposter syndrome. If you have imposter syndrome, I should be like drowned in imposter syndrome. And then he's like, yeah, I have imposter syndrome. It never goes away. And then at that moment, I was like, if a person who I look up to so much can feel like he's an imposter, just imagine like what everybody else might be feeling. And maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm doing fine. Maybe it's not so bad. So imposter syndrome, it hits everyone. I bet you everybody in the industry are feeling like an imposter at some point. If they don't, they might be a psycho. Just kidding. I mean, some people are lucky that they don't feel like an imposter, but I think those people are very rare. But some tips to help with imposter syndrome. Um, so I think imposter syndrome actually comes from a place of fear, right? We are fear and uncomfort. So we, for example, are put into a new project, or we are put into a new room of people that we've never been with before, a new team, new company, or just like starting speaking at a conference, new event, new opportunity, and we feel like, oh my god, everybody here is like pretty experienced and I'm so new and I've never done this, maybe I shouldn't be here, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? So it's like that fear that starts talking because you're in an uncomfortable position, and our brain registers fear as pain, so it's trying to prevent us from feeling the pain. So it's telling us maybe you need to get out of here, maybe you shouldn't be here. That will help us prevent this, right? Because we don't know what we're not able to separate our thoughts from, like, our imagination from the facts. So, what helps in that moment is to take a breather and tell ourselves, first of all, we're doing something uncomfortable and it is totally okay that we're feeling this way. Everybody has felt this way in this room, and it is totally okay that we're feeling this way. Secondly, we're doing this for the very first time. Even if it's not our first time, it's our beginning. So, let's not compare our beginning to somebody's day 20 or their year 20, right? We are just starting out. We cannot compare our beginning to somebody's middle or their end. So second is think about, like, first is take a breather. And I'm going to take a water, take a
Yeah,
breather.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Then the second is to gather facts, which is usually our brain is telling us, like, for example, I'll give you a fact about speaking at conferences, right? I have spoken at, I don't know, like over 25 conferences at this point. But even now, when I go speak at conferences, I'm just like, maybe I shouldn't be here. I don't know why they accepted my talk. I don't know why they invited me. I shouldn't be here. Why am I talking about React 19? I don't know anything. I'm not on the team. What am I doing here? And then I have to ground myself, telling myself, like, okay, they invited me. They must have seen something in me to invite me, right? That is number one. The fact is, they saw a potential in me to invite me here, right? Even if your talk got accepted, you didn't get invite. Even if you were the one who applied and you got accepted, they saw potential in you. That is why you got accepted. That is why you're here. So, first of all, you deserve a seat at the table. That's number one. That's the first fact. Second is, who here knows everything about React 19, let's say, right? 'Cause I'm just giving my personal example. Nobody.
Hmm.
The only people who know about React 19 are the people who are on the team. And how many people are
Hmm.
there in this audience who are on the team? Very few people. So the fact that you feel like an imposter means is a clear indication that first of all you're doing something unknown, but also the feeling of imposter is coming from a place of unknown, but nobody else knows about this as well, which is fine.
Hmm.
So that helps me kind of ground myself. And the third step, and so for example, if you are coming to a new company, this can translate to, well, everybody has been here. Somebody has had their first day at some point. So even though it is my first day today, other people in the company have also had their first day. So I have
Hmm.
crossed, other people have crossed the steps that now I am crossing, right? So that is kind of grounding fact. So gather the facts. Another feeling that I feel is common, another fear that comes commonly is that I am stupid and I don't know what I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
So for that, my grounding fact is, has anybody ever complained to me or told me that I'm stupid? And usually the answer is no. So if nobody has said that you're stupid, let's not tell ourselves that we're stupid, okay? Let's be kinder to ourselves. That's number three. That's number two. Most important thing, be kind to yourself. Because you have to be your own best friend.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've taken a breather, we've calmed down, we've understood the facts. Then the number three is actually to take action. And I think no matter how many times you tell yourself it's okay, all is well, it's not going to be okay until you actually take action. So that
Yeah.
is my number three, which is okay, I'm feeling like an imposter going up on the stage. What can I do that can help me feel better? I can read up this blog post. I can talk to this person. I can get my code reviewed by this person. I can get help. I can get mentorship. I can, whatever, I can do like 5 tasks that can help me feel better. And the fact that you are doing a task helps you gain momentum in doing another task. And before you know it, you are 10 tasks down and you are a lot more experienced than you started off. So imposter
Hmm.
syndrome usually comes from a place of inexperience. And by doing an action, you're removing that inexperience and you're becoming a bit more experienced. And the final step I would say is get help. And in my video, I actually talk about, I think I talk about 3 sorts of help, but I'll talk about them now. Number one is help from a professional who is working in the same industry as you. So it could be a mentor, it could be a paid coach, it could be like in terms of speaking at conferences, somebody who goes at conferences and have applied to CFPs, or somebody who's working at your company and can be a mentor for you, your manager, somebody like that. So a professional, get help from a professional in your industry. Number two is getting help from somebody you love and trust. And that is so you can validate your feelings and you can share how you're feeling. I think it's important to share how you feel with somebody you can trust in a place that is safe. And the reason being, we feel like we're an imposter and everybody else is amazing, but honestly, everybody else is feeling like an imposter and you are amazing. Both of those things are true. And the third is getting a therapist, because we run into our thoughts a lot and nobody is
Hmm.
licensed and professional enough to take care of these thoughts except for somebody who is actually a professional therapist. So I highly recommend getting those 3 people in your squad. So that's
Okay.
how I deal with imposter syndrome.
Because I think that this particular like imposter syndrome, right from when you get into college, not particularly about like coding, but when you are in the college first year, you kind of get into a new environment and there are new friends and new people, and you kind of get that fear like, how will I be able to match these kind of people? Like some people are good at, let's say, dancing, some people are good at speaking, and you want to be like good at both of the things. I want to be this
Hmm.
also, and I want to be that also, and that
Yeah.
indirectly causes you like a fear of being judged by others. Like
Yeah.
ये क्या सोचेगा, faculty क्या सोचेगी, ये दोस्त क्या सोचेगा. So I
Hmm.
think these points that you told will help a lot of people to get out of it. And I
Hmm.
personally would look into this podcast and this section again, because I also get sometimes the imposter syndrome when I get into like when I'm in the group of like, let's say, 20 people. I
Hmm.
recently had my coding Adda's first meetup when I went back in Mumbai. It was like I
Hmm.
knew these people. These are like I know I have seen their faces. It's like I am getting nervous, and when I get nervous, my hand starts to sweat a lot.
Hmm.
I'm like, bro, I know these people. Then why am I getting nervous to talk to them? And
Hmm.
luckily I had one of my friend. I was like, I want to talk to you. Please listen. I'll be speaking. You just listen. And she was like, okay. That's when I got that kind of a bit public speaking fear out,
Hmm.
and it actually will help a lot of people.
Hmm.
One more thing is that I saw many of your videos on the channel Code TV, and
Hmm.
that was like this is a completely different format. One of
Learn with
the
Jason, aka.
yeah, one of there were two formats that I particularly liked. One was like you had to spin a wheel and you were given a question, and if you made it wrong, and you would have to eat something spicy. And I guess you and I don't know the guy's name,
Joel
but it
Hooks.
was Joe Hooks.
Joel Hooks. He's the
Joel
creator of
Hooks.
Egghead.
Okay. So I was yeah, it had given you a question like about GPT. So
Hmm.
you told like something generative and then transformer, and
Yeah.
that got you wrong, and you had to eat something.
Yeah.
And one of the second video was it about creating a project within 4 hours,
Yeah.
right from the ideation to creation. So how was that experience been? Because that is something completely new for me,
Hmm.
and I really want to know how is that experience like? It's like normally you are coding and you are talking with people, but these
Hmm.
kind of things are normally made for entertainment, like comedy videos and all
Yeah.
those things. But combining tech with comedy is something very new. How has
Yeah.
that experience been?
Yeah. Before I answer this question, I want to go back to the stuff that you were talking about, like people thinking and log kya kahenge. And one thing that came to my mind, which I wanted to share, is like, so I talked about therapists, right? Like those people helping you a lot. And like log kya kahenge is a common thing that a lot of people think. And there's two things I want to talk about there. One is you imagining and you pre-thinking what people are thinking is a very common thinking trap, is it's called, which means that you already judge what people are going to say without them actually saying it. And that is a very it is a very painful thing for your mind to go through. So one thing is to avoid those thinking traps, prevent yourself from trying to judge what other people are saying. And two is a thing that I read on Instagram, which is अगर तुम सोचोगे कि लोग क्या कहेंगे तो लोग क्या सोचेंगे.
Hmm.
तो लोगों का काम तुम ही कर रहे हो. So those two things have helped me. um, so that's what I wanted to add about that. uh, Core TV, Learn with Jason. I think when I was about to go on Web Dev Challenge, which is that 4 hour long episode, I was so nervous. So I was given the prompt like a day or two before of what is going to happen, and we were allowed to pre-prepare. I was so nervous that I prepared to the dot. I was like, "This is what I'm going to do. This is the database. Da, 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 this is what I'm going to do." Because I am so nervous on camera. I told you to give me questions for this podcast before coming here, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm so nervous on camera. I do poorly in interviews. I have to go through like 20 interviews so I can succeed in one. That's how bad I am. I do very bad in pressure. So yeah, so I was really nervous going on the show. And in the first 30 minutes, I was just like, don't, nobody talk to me. I'm just going to be here and I'm going to like code and code and code. And I don't know how those 4 hours went. They just like flew by. And at the end, I was so happy that my code was working. But 30 minutes before the timer was supposed to end, I was very close to not getting my like stuff done. So I'm very lucky. I'm very happy that it got done. I think that experience was really, really fun. Building something in 4 hours, you would think you would have a lot of time, but that 4 hours flies by really fast. But also, it's a really great confidence boosting session because you know that you can build something from scratch for 4 hours. That is an amazing skill to do. That is pretty creative.
Hmm.
That's pretty good to do. I think Jason has a way of adding um, humor and fun and creativity to everything he does, whether it's his conference talks, whether it's his live stream. And like his live stream actually has like this little boops show up. You should all watch his live stream, it is awesome. So if you like hit a button in his live stream, he has like these stickers that pop up and they like fill up his screen, so his face is all full of boop stickers. And it's really really cute. So he has like this way of adding creativity to coding as well. That's something that I really admire. That's something that I really aspire to be. So I think Jason's channel is an amazing source of um, education, but and also learning that you can still keep coding fun. And that's what he aspires to
Hmm.
be as well. Keep coding fun.
Hmm. I think these kind of shows should be there in India as well. I think it
Hmm.
will take some time to come in India because uh, the tech influence is more and in terms of these kind of shows in outside India. But I think the when it comes to India, it will also be a great like success.
Hmm.
But
I
let's
think
see how it comes.
I think we should encourage Jason to come to React India and make a show in React India. That would be so cool.
I'd be the first contestant to register for that.
So cool. That would be so fun.
Yeah. Talking about conferences, you have, as you told, you have been speaker at like 20 plus conferences. And my like React India being one of my life's first conferences, I was like pretty amazed and pretty overwhelmed by the kind of people that I saw
Hmm.
because it's like all techies. Like I wanted to have such conference like where all techies people talk all about tech and all about the tech industry.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to people like Johnny Berger, talking to Kenshi Dodds, Tejas, and now late, but talking to you, it's like, bro, these kind of people are something that I really look upon, and I
Mm-hmm.
really like kind of mentors to me. And I also really want to start speaking at conferences. Like, what would be your advice to me?
Mm-hmm. I think my advice would be to just apply to as many as you can. Um, I would actually start with speaking. Actually, you already have a coding channel, so I think you are already way ahead of people. But for those who are not like you and don't have a successful channel like you, I would say start with applying. No, it is pretty successful. You have an amazing following, so I think it's something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. I think I would start actually with speaking at a meetup first because meetup is an easy place to get started, but also to build proof that you can and you have done public speaking. And actually, I started with meetups as well. So there might be local meetups happening in your city, so you can apply for those, or there might be online meetups happening and you can apply for those. And the good thing about online meetups is you don't have to be limited to your city, you can actually apply internationally as well. So you get international experience. So I would apply to a meetup. Um, then I would actually pick a topic that you feel comfortable with if this is the first time you're ever speaking publicly. I actually picked a topic which was something that I wanted to learn and I had never had a chance to learn. So I picked a topic about progressive web apps. That was my first meetup talk, and I took 3 months to prepare that. And I thought of some questions that the audience would ask me, and Uh, I spoke at that meetup, and I think there were like 150 or 200 people in that audience. And I walk up to the stage, and like my hands were like, "Ugh." And I was supposed
Imposter
to do a
syndrome
demo.
kicking in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it was crazy because I was giving a talk on progressive web apps, and the app that I was showing was Flipkart's app because it has a really good progressive web app. And this was at Google's office. Okay, this was at
Oh,
Google
damn.
Developer Meetup. Okay, and I was there like giving a talk on Flipkart, this progressive web app, and the guy who made that progressive web app was sitting in the first row
Oh.
of my meetup, of my first meetup, and I was talking about progressive web app, and I was like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know why I'm here. And I saw him like nodding along like this like the whole time. His name is Pratik Bhatnagar. He's awesome. I love him. He's great. He's a great friend now. But oh my God, when I saw him in the audience, I was like, oh my God, why is he here? He's like, yeah, you're going to talk about progressive apps, right? I built the Flipkart progressive app. I was like, You didn't have to tell me that. He told me that before my just before my talk, and I was like, "You didn't have to tell me that." I feel so scared now. But he was like nodding along the whole time, and he was super like he was smiling and he was super supportive, and I was like, "Okay, at least whatever I'm talking is correct." And then at the end of the talk, like I gave answers, and there were some questions that I did not even know the answer to. So I was like, sorry guys, I don't know this answer, I'm pretty new to this. So, and these people filled in for me, like the people who knew the answer, they filled in for me. And it was such a supportive community, and I feel like that was such a great place to start. So I would say start with the meetup, pick a topic that you don't know, or pick a topic that you know if you have a topic in mind. Otherwise, pick a topic that you want to learn. And I think picking the topic is actually the more important part than CFP itself. So pick a topic that may be trending right now. You can also look at list of, for example, if you're applying to React India, look at the list of talks that they did last year to understand what kind of topics they're interested in. Typically, conferences like to see mm, a use case based topic. So, for example, we migrated from Redux to TanStack query at PayPal. That could be a topic that people would love to see because it kind of shows some challenges you're going to solve.
Hmm.
So, pick like a use case based topic. Um, People also really like to hear about trending topics like how are AI apps going to help in React development, or how to build an AI powered React app. That kind of
Hmm.
stuff is really popular. And then performance stuff is always really popular. So those are like three buckets that you can apply for, and they are easy to get into. Um, and also get your CFP reviewed by somebody who's been to conferences. So if you're interested in speaking, send me your CFP. I'll help you guide through it.
Sure, sure. Because it's like this year I want to like start with it because honestly I'll tell you like what this one meetup or one conference has changed the way I think, changed the way I create content, and changed the way I talk with people.
Hmm.
Because before React India, I was a guy who would not even uh, put my camera and talk in public. I'd be
Hmm.
like, okay, I can sit in my room and I can create content. But I had that fear of like not going in public and having a tripod and a mic and talking with the camera.
Hmm.
But at Direct India, I had one thing like, whatever happens, कर लेंगे. जो भी होगा देख
Hmm.
लेंगे.
Hmm.
And after
What's the
that,
worst that'll happen?
yeah, because I had one thing like कोई मुझे जानता नहीं. No one knows me and I don't know anyone.
Hmm.
So I was like, कर लेते जो भी होगा, we'll look into it.
Hmm.
And after that, like I have been going into a lot of meetups there. I have talked about my channel and they're like, okay, that's good. And specifically in Bangalore, people here appreciate these things. Like you
Hmm.
have a tech channel, but where in Mumbai, if we see people are like, okay, तो YouTube video बनाता है, तो they consider you as a YouTuber over there in Mumbai. But
Hmm.
Bangalore being a tech hub, people are like, okay, that's pretty cool that you are doing,
Hmm.
and looking forward to be at very various conferences with the mentorship from you guys. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You'll do great.
but the last two questions that I have is, as we see right now, even like every week there are crazy things happening around the world of AI.
Hmm.
Talking about the latest hot topic, like people used to say, like creating GPT took
Hmm.
around 100 millions, and there we had DeepSeek. DeepSeek was made around 5-6 million.
Hmm.
And this kind of really questions me on what would be our future. Like, what would be
Hmm.
the future of the developers? Because recently, OpenAI also launched something called Operator. That is
Hmm.
like it will do anything that you want. Like
Yeah.
you just have to sit and see how it works. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? What would be the impact on the developers with the changing world of AI?
Yeah. So I think people are quite worried that, AI will replace our jobs and software engineers won't be needed, right? I think that is a concern that I don't see happening in any near future, at least in the next 10 years. AI is not at the place where they can completely replace software engineers. It can write code for us, it can write components for us that you can copy and paste in your code, and that is fine. But you need a software engineer to understand how that code is going to work with the rest of the app. Now these tools have become really good at creating working demos of apps, and it is pretty good code as well. However, it is not 100% accurate and it is not 100% optimal. So you still need somebody who can validate the code. So the way that I see AI working is that it's going to help us improve the speed with which we produce code, with which we create components. So it's going to fasten the speed with which we go to production. But we still need somebody who's going to help us take there, and that is going to be the software engineer. So software engineers are going to become more hands off with little components like writing a button and writing this and that, but more hands on in the architecture of how those components fit together, how data flows from one component to another. Like for example, right now, if you ask AI to create an app for you, it'll create like this isn't, but then it'll add like a bunch of libraries. Now you as an engineer need to decide whether I need to add this library or not. How does my
Hmm.
data flow into this component? It has given me some props, but is this the right set of props I need to pass in? How do I optimize this? So I think engineers are gonna up level from just creating simple and dumb components, just UI based components, which a lot of these AI tools will take over, to creating, to architecting the app and thinking about the overall architecture and how data flows through the app, and thinking about how to optimize this app and taking it to production level. So I think AI code assistant, that AI tools are gonna become indispensable in our in our programming, just like how computers are right now, but you still need a human behind it.
Okay. The last question is there any piece of advice that you would like to give to the viewers or the students watching this particular podcast?
I think one thing I would say is that it is easy to get overwhelmed by fear, and that can hit you at any point, whether you're applying to a new company, whether you are entering this field, or whether you are coming to a podcast for the very first time or interviewing somebody for the very first time. What I would say is that everybody is being ruled by fear, and everybody is fearful. Nobody is there who's sitting there and being like, oh, I have conquered fear, because there's nobody like that. So get out of your um, comfort zone, do the stuff that you have always wanted to do, make your dreams come true, because life is too short. And wow, that went so dark. Um, Life is too short. Stay curious, keep learning, and don't let fear power you.
Okay. So, Shruti Kapoor, thank you so much for taking out your time to hop on the podcast. It was a pleasure, and I'm grateful and being kind of a fanboy here talking with you. Like it's been 1 hour podcast, but I have learned a lot of things from you. You know, I can tell you. I'll if I want, I'll tell you after the podcast is short
Revise
because
with me.
yeah, revision will be done. And I think a lot of things that I really wanted to talk, but I did not have the right person to talk to, specifically like the topic on imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of things were being cleared like about this particular topics. And I think viewers would like to know a lot more about you. And
Hmm.
they'll obviously, I guess, guys, you should go and check out her channel. It's pretty crazy. I'll tell like it's crazy channel, not nice, but it's crazy. So thank you so much for taking out your time. Hope you had a great one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aditya. This was such a pleasure. It was so fun talking to you.
Thank you.